Welcome to this Hatha Yoga class with myself, Four Directions Yoga Studio in Woodville, and my yoga companion, Yogi Betty. We're practicing yoga today for mindfulness, for connecting to ourselves in the present moment. I was listening to a discussion on CBC today about healing the wounds of pain, and one of the women who called in talked about one of the techniques or practices that she used to help herself going through pain and suffering was yoga, because it helped her connect to her body and to be in the present moment and to feel what was happening. And I find at this time of when we're going through this pandemic in globally, that it really has brought the present moment here at a full stop. We really, for myself anyways, I'm very much aware that all we have is right now. And I'm very grateful to the practices of yoga and meditation to provide me with a practice of being in the present moment and connecting to all that is, whether it's comfortable or uncomfortable, pleasant or unpleasant. Develop a sense of curiosity, inquisitiveness, and responsiveness by just observing without disconnecting, staying deeply connected to all that's going on and to what we're experiencing. So I find that helpful through the yoga practice. I've always found yoga helpful in the sense of releasing tension, releasing trauma memory that's in the body. So we can start with either sitting or lying down. I'm going to start with sitting today. All the other classes in this YouTube sequence have been starting with lying down. So Yogi Betty will lie down, but I'm going to start with sitting. And you can sit on the ground, or you can sit on a couch, or on a chair. And your eyes can be open or closed. And when you start with sitting, you try to make sure you're comfortable. You can inhale and exhale, eyes can be open or closed, and start to feel your body and where it is. And if there's any effort involved in sitting, let it go. So many yoga teachers and meditation teachers talk about sitting with a straight spine. If that's too much of an effort, then don't pull your spine up straight. Just allow it to relax. And as we ground and breathe and connect to the movement of breath, the spine might lengthen. And that can take time. So feel the body as you're sitting. Feel the pelvis and the legs and the feet connecting to the ground. Inhale and exhale and feel the movement of the breath. And allow yourself to feel some full yogic breaths. Inhaling into the belly, the ribs, the chest. And exhaling, letting your belly sink back. So diaphragmatic breathing is really important in terms of supporting the spine, in terms of allowing the body to ground and to release, and in terms of stress release. There's a lot of benefits to diaphragmatic breathing. So again, we're going to inhale into the belly, ribs, chest, and exhale and let the belly sink back. If it's helpful for you to bring your hands on your belly so you can feel the belly fill with breath as you inhale and drop back as you exhale, then then do that. Take your hands to your belly and abdomen and feel as you inhale, the hands fill with breath, and as you exhale, they move back. For a lot of people, diaphragmatic breathing is very easy to do and very natural. For some of us, it is not. And so just try your best, and if you find that it takes a lot of effort to do it, try 1 or 2 diaphragmatic breaths and then stop, and then try again a little bit later. So as you inhale, notice the parts of the body that fill with breath, and then as you exhale, notice the parts of the body that release. Take a few more breaths. And then you might try exploration of inhaling and suspending the breath for a brief moment. And then exhaling and allowing the breath to release out and pause at the end of the exhalation breath. And try that a couple more times. Inhaling, pausing, and exhaling, and pausing. And as we're practicing this breath, you can think of it, someone explained to me once that it was full bowl is when you inhale and pause, and empty bowl when you exhale and pause. Notice what's happening with your breathing. Notice the sensations in the chest, around the area of the lungs and the heart, and see if there's tension in those areas. When you go into a house and someone is baking bread, and you smell that fresh bread baking, we inhale often and pause to savor that scent. There's very little effort. We don't think about doing that in that moment. We just explore the beautiful and savor the beautiful scent of freshly baked bread. The same idea applies here. With these breathing practices, if you're putting effort into these breathing practices, too much effort, then you can strain the nervous system and we can add to tension that's already in the body. So today's practice is about exploring the present moment and being mindful. And if we notice we're trying too hard to do these breathing practices or these yogic practices, allow yourself the moment, the chance to be in the present moment and to feel what it's like when you're trying too hard. And then stop and relax and try the exercise again. And I'll try to remind us of that as we go through that. That's the theme for today's class. Being in the present moment, noticing if we're trying too hard, and dropping tension. And so take a moment, take another few of those full and empty bowl breaths. Notice if there's tension in the chest, in the shoulders, in the upper back as you're breathing. And you might just need to stay with that tension. It might not be something you can let go of yet. Sometimes dropping tension in itself can, the message that we should drop tension in itself can make us more tense. So we need just to start to feel that we have tension in the body. And then after your last breath, when you're ready to start to move, we're going to come onto the floor on our hands and knees for cat pose. And if you find the floor too hard for your knees, you can put a folded blanket or a pillow under your knees, towel. And we're going to exhale and round the spine up and let your head drop and inhale and release down. And then exhale and round the spine up, draw the belly back and inhale and release down. And just go back and forth with cat pose a few times, really feeling that you can allow your neck and your head to drop. And as you're practicing this movement, notice that you're moving at your own pace. Every person has their own pace and their own rhythm, their own frequency that we move at. And then you can see about moving the spine in big circles as you're rounding the back up and dipping the chest down. Some people like to move from one direction and then they change after a couple circles and move in the other direction. Really feel that you can notice areas where there's tension in the spine, in the shoulders, and the upper back muscles, where there's freedom of movement. And then we can take the hands over to the right. And if your knees are okay with this, you can sit your hips back and stretch into the left side of the body. Take another deep breath, inhaling deeply and exhaling. You can round the spine up on the right and dip down. And as the body releases, you might be able to take your hands further over, round the spine up and dip down, and then sit the hips back again. Breathe, lengthen, and stretch again into the left side. And let go.
When you're ready, we'll come up and we'll take the hands over to the right, to the left, and we'll stretch the right side of the body. So exhale, drop the hips back, elongate into the right arm, stretch the right side ribs. Drop your head, allow your neck to release. Inhaling deeply and exhale. As we're going through these simple exercises, let yourself notice if you have tension in the shoulders and the neck. If we're moving too quickly in yoga, we don't have the time to listen to our body. This practice is about listening to our bodies. And then we're going to come into downward facing dog pose. And I'll just go on the cross mat here to demonstrate downward dog. And take your toes under and lift the hips and stretch the legs. And in downward facing dog pose, your heels do not have to be on the ground. It's a good idea to look back at your feet and be able to clearly see your arches. Sometimes people struggle to bring our heels down and we collapse the arch, which is not great for the feet or our knees. You can bend the right knee and stretch the left leg. Take a breath or two. Inhale, exhale, bend the left knee and stretch the right leg. Alternate the legs again. Go slowly. Feel the stretch in the calf of the leg that's straightening, that's stretched. Feel the stretch in the hamstring possibly. Change sides again. And then lengthen through both legs. And we'll inhale, exhale, and we'll come back to cat pose. Round the spine up in cat pose. Drop the head, neck releasing. And then we'll inhale and exhale and come back towards child's pose. For some people, this is not comfortable on the knees, and your child's pose might have the knees less flexed, as bent. So come back to child's pose wherever you're comfortable. Allow your head to drop and let your neck drop and release. Inhaling deeply and exhale. And see where the breath goes in this posture. See if you breathe into your shoulders, into the upper back. Coming up, we'll come into cobra. Reach the hands a little further forward. Sitting back towards child's pose with the arms lengthened out in front, elbows off the floor. In itself can be an excellent stretch for the shoulders. We're going to inhale and exhale, round the back up, and then we'll let the pelvis come towards the floor and let the chest open. And if that is not comfortable on your lower back, don't come that far forward. Just come part way forward. So you inhale, exhale, round up. And you might only come this far forward if your lower back is a concern. If you're okay with cobra pose, coming all the way forward, then come forward. And then we'll try that one more time. Moving slowly from cat pose, child's pose, to cat pose, to cobra, allows us to feel and be aware of each part of the spine, the pelvis, lower back, middle back, upper back, neck, and the head. And then we'll come back to child's pose. And let yourself release down. We're going to come back up again, and we'll take the right foot forward for lunge pose. And take your left toes under, and as you exhale, lengthen back through the left leg. Drop your head, let your neck release. If you lift the head up too much, see what happens to the muscles in the back. They start to contract. So inhale, and as you exhale, lengthen back into the left leg. And then we'll bring the left knee to the floor. And if possible, come up into lunge pose. When you come into lunge pose, see it. How do you come up here? Be mindful. Exhale, let the pelvis come under. Then press down through the front foot, the lower back, the middle back, the upper back, the neck and the head come up. In this practice, we're very much interested in the process of coming into the posture, being in the posture, and the process of coming out of the posture. If you're okay with arms up in lunge pose, you can bring your arms up, and then exhale and come down. And we can try reverse lunge here of dropping the head and letting the front leg lengthen. Feel the stretch in the front leg. Take your time. Let the head drop, let the neck release. And then we'll bring the right foot back, right knee back, and take the left foot forward. Make sure your right knee is okay with being on the ground here. If you need a blanket or cushion under it, take something. We'll inhale, exhale. We'll take the right knee off the floor for a moment. Dropping the head, releasing the neck. Breathe into your right leg. Breathe into your right foot. Coming back down. Pause, and then we'll come up in lunge pose. Again, be mindful of how you come up. We're going to inhale, then exhale, let the pelvis come under. The left foot can press down to the floor more deeply. Lower back, middle back, upper back, and the neck and head come up. And you can bring your arms up if that's comfortable. If it's not comfortable, you can have your arms in your leg or out to the sides. And then exhaling down, and then reverse lunge. Pause, feel the stretch through the left leg here. And as we breathe and stay in the posture and release, you can feel the muscles in the body that are stretching, and we can feel changes that occur in those muscles while we're stretching. And then we'll come up, and Betty is going to change her position here. Somewhere maybe over to that bolster, that looks pretty interesting. That might help. And then we'll come out again, and then we'll come back to cat pose. We'll exhale and round the spine up and drop the head and inhale and release. And then we'll come back into downward facing dog. Feel the front of the thighs in downward dog. After having practiced lunge pose, we stretch that area of the body out. You can bring the left foot into the middle of the mat a little bit more and see about taking the right leg up. Inhale deeply and exhale, and then feel the stretch in the left leg. If all the way up with the right foot is too intense, you can bring the right foot down, but you'll feel different in the left leg with that intense stretch. Come down, and then we'll shift sides. We'll take the left leg up and lengthen it back. And breathe and feel the shift in the right leg. What happens as you stretch through the left leg in the air and release back into the right foot off the ground. And then we'll bring the left leg back down again, and then we'll bring the knees back to the floor. And then we'll see about coming back to child's pose. And let the head drop and release the neck. And then see about bringing your breath into your lower back in child's pose and into the back of the pelvis. These postures have the potential to allow the body to release through the action of the breath. And then we'll come up again and we'll come back to cobra. So inhale, exhale, round the spine up into cat pose, child's pose to cat pose to cobra, and we'll come back. And just try that another time. Inhale deeply, exhale, round the spine up to come up into cat pose and then into cobra. And feel the lower back, middle back, and the upper back releasing, and we'll come out. And we're going to try pigeon, which can be challenging sometimes for people's knees. So there's two ways of coming into pigeon pose. One way is standard way, I call it. You take your right knee to your right wrist, angle the foot across in front of the left hip, and drop forward. And breathe. The other way to come into pigeon, Yogi Betty, you can't see her, she's out of camera now, she's over on the pile of bolsters. Over here is to take your right knee to your right, so your right knee to your chest, and then take it to the right, and then you roll over onto the knee, and you're also in pigeon pose. The benefit of coming into pigeon pose this way is the hip comes into the posture before the knee does. Okay, so I'll just demonstrate that again. So you draw your right knee to your chest, take your right knee to the right, you're going to inhale and exhale, and roll over onto the right knee. And if your right knee is a concern, you don't have to roll all the way over onto it. You take the right knee to the right, and you can come up into this posture, which we often call pinwheel. And then you can come down, and then we can try that with the left leg. So from the ground, I'll just demonstrate this. You take your left knee to the left, and then roll over onto the left leg. But if you're going to come into pigeon the more standard way from cat pose, you can inhale, exhale, take the left knee to the left wrist, and lengthen back through the right leg, and then drop forward. And take a few breaths. The benefit of this posture can be for the hip, to release tension in the pelvis. And I think pigeon as a forward bend, this one is an excellent posture for stretching the hip rotators, releasing hip rotators, and then you might walk your hands back. And again, just as we did in lunge pose, be mindful of how you come up. We inhale, exhale, let the pelvis drop down, the lower back, middle back, and the upper back come up into pigeon. And then we'll come out. So try pigeon again, the way that works for you, either rolling into it or bringing your knee forward. You may need to stay with pinwheel if your knee is a concern and then you're not in full pigeon. You can come into full pigeon if your knee is okay. This is pigeon as a forward bend. You inhale deeply, exhale, drop down through the pelvis to come up into pigeon as a back bend. And breathe into the body again, and then notice the quality of your breath again. Notice if there's tension in the chest, in the upper back, in the shoulders, and then coming in. Sometimes when we start yoga practice, we might notice that there's tension in the breath, and as we go through the practice and release muscles around the upper back and chest, that tension might start to dissipate. And then we'll take the left knee into pigeon pose, either rolling or this more standard way of coming into it, and then see about dropping forward, inhaling deeply and exhale and release into pigeon as a forward bend. Breathe into the hip. And then we'll exhale and see about coming up. And be mindful of the left knee. If the left knee is not comfortable with this posture, don't do it. You would do pinwheel instead. And then we're going to come out of pigeon. And we'll come back to downward facing dog pose and stretch back. Breathing into the legs, breathing into the hips, stretching into the hands. And then we can walk forward through our feet and take our hands back into standing forward bend and drop forward. Inhale deeply and exhale and let the spine release. If your lower back is sensitive, you can pop your elbows up onto your knees and bend your knees. Some people for their lower backs prefer dropping their knees and just letting their lower back release with a feeling of gravity. So see what works for your body. If possible, stretch your legs. This is such a good stretch for the legs. And take your time breathing. And then we're going to come up standing. So we'll bend the knees. We'll inhale, exhale, come up to standing and stretch up and back. And we'll do some stretches for the arms. And take the arms wide. Take the right arm over the left for eagle arms. If that's not possible, then you just use box arms here. Just a stretch for the upper back. Remember, the goal of this practice is to release tension from the body. It is not to be able to do yoga postures that someone else might be able to do that we can't do. We're trying to find ways for self-care. Okay, so eagle arms, and then you can take the other arm on top and change and move the arms in circles. And you can also try, if box arms make more sense here, you can do box arms.
And then we can interlace the hands. So we can do wide stride forward bend, where you stand with your feet about one leg length apart and turn the outer edges of your feet so they are square to the outer edges of the mat. Interlacing the hands is an option. If the hands do not interlace easily, you can use a belt. And then inhale and exhale and see about dropping forward and stretch into the arms. And take a few breaths. And you can bring your hands to the ground. You can walk your hands over to the left. Feel the stretch in the left leg. Breathe in. You can bring your hands over to the right. And back to the center. And then bend the knees a bit and come up. Support yourself with your hands on your legs if you need to. And then bring yourself back to the middle. And counterbalancing that forward bend will stretch up and back. And then another very comfortable release to do is just this twisting, gentle twisting. You soften the knees and you twist gently from side to side. So there's a sequence I like to practice, especially if my mind is very busy or stressed, and it's a standing posture sequence, which we can do now. And you can start at the back of the mat in mountain pose, and as we go through this, you feel your body, you feel the connection to the ground through the feet, and as the muscles in the legs release, that connection through the soles of our feet changes, because we stretch the muscles at the back of the legs. And our feet work, very well in terms of grounding our bodies and helping them release. So we start with mountain pose. You can feel your body and you can sway a little bit from right to left, front to back, and allow it to settle without tensing the pelvis, the pelvic floor, and without tensing the quadricep muscles, the thigh muscles. And then we'll step the right foot forward for warrior one. And we try to keep this left foot from turning out dramatically. It might turn out a little bit, but very little. And we bend the right knee, exhale, so that the belly sinks back, the spine lengthens, and you can bring your arms up for Virabhadrasana Warrior One. Inhale deeply and exhale, and we can add Warrior Two here by taking the upper back and twisting, so the right arm comes forward, the left arm comes back. And then, because sometimes people twist the other way, we can add Warrior Two twist and take the left arm forward and the right arm back. And then bring the arms back. Inhale deeply, exhale, step yourself back to mountain pose. Feel your right leg and your left leg on the, and your right foot and your left foot on the ground. Okay, breathing, inhale deeply and exhale. And then we'll switch, so take the left foot forward, inhale deeply, exhale, release back into the right leg. As you exhale, the pelvis can drop, release. The lengthens through the lower back, the middle back, the upper back, simply by breathing, by grounding through the legs and finding the breath. Arms can be out to the sides or they can come up for Warrior One. And then Warrior Two, you take the left arm forward, the right arm to the right. Make sure your left knee doesn't go into the large toe side of your foot. It sort of stays toward the small toe side, because that's for knee protection. And then we can try Warrior Two twist of taking the right arm forward and the left arm back. And come back to Warrior One. Inhale deeply, exhale, and step back to mountain pose. And then feel your legs and your feet. I'm going to move, so I'm facing the camera this time, but you can stay where you are. Feel your feet, feel how the soles of the feet connect to the ground. When we open our legs like that, there's a shift in how we relate to the ground. So then we're going to add some postures. We're going to step the right foot forward again. Come back to Warrior One. And then inhale deeply and exhale. Breathe. The belly sink back, spine lengthen. Through grounding and breathing, the spine lengthens, and relax the shoulders. If arms up seems to cause tension in your shoulders, then drop your arms to find a place where warrior one is comfortable. And then warrior two. Make sure your right knee goes to the small toe side of your foot and not to the inside line of the body. Warrior two, twist. Take the left arm forward, the right arm back. And then we drop down a little bit to side lunge pose, where the right arm is on the right leg. This is like a high version of side lunge. Deeply inhale and exhale, and then we can lengthen through the right leg and maybe bring the right hand to the ground. If you can't reach the ground, you may have a block handy or a cushion for triangle pose. Inhale deeply, exhale. You can bring the left hand down and turn for triangle twist. And then inhale and exhale, come back up to warrior one, and then step back to mountain pose. Now feel the right and left sides of the body, the right and left legs, and the soles of the feet. We stretch them differently. So we're going to do that sequence on the left. We'll step the left foot forward for warrior one. Find a place for your shoulders that is comfortable. Inhale deeply, exhale, let the belly sink back. The belly sinking back allows the pelvis, the legs, and the feet to release to the ground. As we breathe, it also allows the spine to lengthen up. Warrior two, take the left arm forward, the right arm back. Warrior two, twist, take the right arm forward and the left arm back. Come back to the center to warrior one. And then we're going to take the left arm to the left thigh, swing the right arm over, and lengthen as you exhale through the right side of the body. So when you breathe, from where the breath moves back into the spine and the belly, abdomen, release down into the right leg from that point, and out through the right arm. And then coming down to triangle pose. You can bring your left hand to the ground or the block and the right arm up. Inhale and exhale. You can take the right arm. I adjusted my back foot. You may want to do that. To the ground and the left arm up for a triangle twist. And then we'll come down. Bend the left knee, we'll come back up to warrior one. Feel that sense as we come from the ground to warrior one of the legs dropping down, the spine coming up. And then we're going to step back to mountain pose. So feel the ground in mountain pose under the feet. Legs have shifted because they've stretched. Soles of the feet, the connective tissue on the soles of the feet releases, so we have a better contact with the ground. The last move that we did, coming from the forward bend up to warrior one, I find that movement very interesting, so I'd like to try that again. And this is how I practice, and I encourage other people to practice. When you're doing your yoga practice, stay really in the present moment. Feel what you're practicing, feel what you're experiencing, be curious, and then try it again, and then try it again. We're not trying to perfect it. We're not trying to repeat something to make it perfect, because there is no concept of perfection in this practice. What we're doing is exploring. We're giving ourselves a chance to, what happened there? Oh, that's interesting. Let me try that again. So we're going to do that with warrior one. I'm going to step the right foot forward. And the stance you use can vary. It can be quite short, like a walking stance. And bend the front knee, or this sort of midway stance that I use. And you can come up into Virabhadasana 1, warrior one. The arms can be up or out to the sides. Again, relax the shoulders. Feel that your breath can release the pelvis. And as you exhale from that point down through the pelvis, legs and feet releases. And as you exhale, the spine releases up. It isn't something we do, it's something we observe. That movement of the breath in the body. And then as you inhale, exhale, you can see about dropping forward. And we can try triangle forward bend, Parsvattanasana here in Sanskrit. So you can have the legs, the feet parallel, dropping forward. If possible, you straighten the front knee. And you can have your hands on the floor, fingertips on the floor, or use a block. Or you might try interlacing your hands and stretching them behind your spine, behind your back. So this is the part that I found interesting. You bend the front knee. Inhale, exhale, ground, release, tension, drop into your legs. And then as you release down, let the spine gently come up in a relaxed fashion. Nice, so that up and down movement, we can try that again. Drop forward into triangle forward bend. Inhale, exhale, bend the front knee. Roll up, the legs work, the feet drop down, but the spine is relaxed. And it comes up from the action of the legs releasing and the action of the breath releasing. And then we'll bring ourselves back to mountain pose and feel the feet in the ground. And then we'll step the left foot forward. Bend the left knee. Again, release the breath in the belly and abdomen. Breathing moves the spine. I used to think breathing was just about oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange. It is so much more than that. It releases the body, releases tension, releases the spine, and lengthens the spine. So we drop down through the legs. The spine is light and relaxed. Coming forward for a triangle forward bend here. Adjust the back foot if you need to. Drop forward, use a block. You might not be able to straighten this front leg at this time. That's fine. And lengthening down, you can use the ground with your hands or the block. Fingertips, if you want to try interlacing your hands behind your back to stretch the shoulders. Let your neck release. Your hands back to the floor. Bend the front knee. Now feel the weight of the body transfer into the legs, into the ground as you exhale and come up. And that process of coming up is just as important as being in the posture. We can try that again. You can roll down, release down into Parsvattanasana, triangle forward bend. Inhale, exhale. You can bend your left knee, the front knee. Let the spine roll up. As you exhale, feel the pelvis, the lower back, the middle back, the upper back, the neck, and the head come into the posture. And again, your arms can be up or out to the sides or down by your sides. And then we'll step back into mountain pose and feel the ground and the feet. And then feel your breath and be aware of the breath in the chest and the upper back. Where we started this class, we were feeling and being aware of breath and the sensations around the breath. People can hold a lot of tension and stress in the chest and the upper back and our neck and shoulders. And often we treat it as if it comes from the outside. But if we start to become aware of the deep tissues of the chest and the shoulders and the neck, we can start to release it from the inside, and paying attention to the breath is part of that. So we did quite a bit standing, and after standing I like to come back to the ground. So you might come back to standing forward bend, and if you need the block, take the block, or use your hands. You can pop your elbows onto your knees and drop forward. And then we can come into Malasana bead pose, squatting, and drop forward here. Your heels might not come to the floor. It's fine if they don't. Sometimes students worry about that. Sometimes for people, they need a block for Malasana for squatting. But whatever you find is comfortable, and dropping forward. And you can roll onto the toes a bit and then back towards the back of the toe ball joints. A little bit here. And then we're going to come into sitting and stretch the legs out. So when we sit in yoga, sometimes you need to sit on a blanket or a cushion. So you can take your cushion under you if you want. and then sitting. And if this is really uncomfortable in terms of you just feel very stiff, then you can bend the knees, and we're going to do sitting forward bend, wide as stride, sitting forward bend, dropping forward. And if you can, stretch your legs and lengthen out through both legs. As you inhale and exhale, you can feel the body lift as you inhale and drop as you exhale. And lift as you inhale and drop as you exhale, which is much more interesting than how far forward we go. And then we'll come up, bring the legs in the center, and we'll try a head to knee pose or Janu Shirshasana. You're going to keep the right leg long and bring the left foot on the inside of the right leg. If this is problematic for the left knee, if it doesn't feel comfortable, support the knee with a block. And then we'll see about dropping forward here. And same idea, breathing as you inhale, the body lifts. As you exhale, it releases. As you inhale, it lifts. As you exhale, it releases. So that each breath can take us more deeply into our own experience, and each breath can take us more deeply into the posture. The postures actually never really end, right? They just continually release. And then we can stretch out through the left leg and bring the right foot on the inside of the left leg, and you can support with a block here if you need to. You can inhale deeply here and exhale, and when you're ready, release into the left leg. And then you inhale, exhale, and then coming up. And then after a bent knee posture like that, I like to stretch through both legs. So Paschimottanasana, feet are about hip width apart. Try to keep the legs upright as opposed to rolling out. That sort of bypasses the point of the stretch if we let the legs roll out. And then again, see where you come to. If you come here, that's fine. It's about finding your breath in the posture. You might inhale and exhale and then drop more deeply into the posture and find the movement of the breath again. And then we'll come up and we'll try a twist. So we're going to bend the right knee on the same side, on the right side of the left leg, and spinal twist. Take the spine around and then use the arms to support the twist, action of the twist. We inhale, release out of the twist a bit, exhale and deepen. Let the neck relax. Let the body be soft. Remember, this is not about the posture. This is about releasing tension. This is about finding a movement of the body that helps it release. Coming back, and then we'll try the other side. We'll bend the left knee. We'll inhale and exhale and turn to the left. Coming out of the posture, exhale, releasing into the posture. Inhale, coming out of the posture, exhale, deepening and releasing into the posture. Inhale, releasing out, exhale, deepening and coming in. And coming back, we can try another twist. Can bend the right knee and bring the right foot to the floor and repeat what we just did. If that feels right for you, or you can bring the right leg, the right foot across on the outside. This might be a stronger twist. It depends on your body. This might be simpler. It doesn't matter as long as your knees feel okay. So you inhale, exhale, lengthen and turn. Inhale, release out. Exhale, lengthen and turn. Soften. It's not that we're going for the maximum twist and then holding. It's this process of releasing out and deepening. Releasing out and then deepening. And then coming back. And then with the left foot on the floor, either on the same side or across the left foot on the outside of the right knee. And then we'll turn. And you can see about inhaling, release. Exhale, deepen, inhale, release, exhale, deepen. And coming And one of my favorite postures, which I found really helpful for lower back and even shoulder pain, is coming into tortoise pose. So in tortoise pose, the feet are not close to the body as they are for butterfly, but they're out and the soles of the feet are together. And if you have concerns about your knee here, you need a block or maybe 2 blocks. And then you can hold your ankles and then drop forward here. So one arm position is having a hold of our ankles. Another one is bringing the arms back on top of the legs. Same idea, breathing. Feel what is the movement of the breath in this posture. This is about each moment and being in the present moment and feeling what happens to the body as we inhale in the pose and exhale. So stay in tortoise a few more breaths. And if your tortoise is here, that's fine. Feel what is the action of the breath in the body. Feel what happens to the body as you stay in the posture and feel the stretch, the lower back, maybe the middle back, the upper back, the neck and shoulders. And then we'll come up and stretch the legs out and maybe give them a shake. And then we'll try a little bit of, at the beginning of shoulder stand here. So you can take yourself onto the floor. I'll take a yoga block in case I want to do supported bridge to start with. And you can lie back on the floor with a block handy or your cushion. Feet are hip width apart and feel the ground. In this class, is the first time we've laid on the floor because we started with sitting a lot. So go back to feel the movement of the breath and be aware of the breath in the chest and the upper back. And let go. Deeply inhale and exhale. And then for supported bridge, which is where you might want to stay, you can take the block and you bring it, or your cushion, under the sacrum, which is the bony plate just above the tailbone, below the lower back. It's the back of the pelvis. This is an excellent posture for releasing the spine, and it lengthens, releases the front of the thighs. And the block or the cushion can have different heights. And you might stay here. Your arms can be at your sides, out shoulder height, or overhead. Explore what feels right for your body. And then if you want to try more of a shoulder stand action, in this posture you do not turn your head. You draw your knees to your chest and you can start this spinal rocking. And you roll back and catch your pelvis with your hands. And then you might come up into shoulder stand. For some people, this is problematic for their neck. So if it doesn't feel right for your neck, then go back to that supported bridge pose that I just did. Another option is to have the arms overhead, and then there's no weight really on my neck. My head is on the floor, upper back is on the floor, but that angle of my neck is really reduced in this posture. Some people call this half shoulder stand or candle pose. And so whichever version of those postures you find helpful, you can try. I wouldn't do full shoulder stand if this is your first yoga practice on your own. You might want to have a teacher actually watch you do that and make sure you're doing it correctly. If that's the case, then staying in bridge pose is probably a good idea. And then breathe in here. And then stay in the posture. If you'd like to, when you're ready, we'll come back to the floor. Feel the spine on the floor again, the back of the body on the floor, the right side and the left side. You can draw your knees to the chest in little bow pose, and we can let the knees drop to the right with the arms out at shoulder height. And then exhale, feel the right shoulder releasing to the ground. Feel the right shoulder still releasing to the ground, and take the legs over to the left. What happens a lot when people do little boat twist is the arm will start to pop up. So we'd like to try, you can see if you can allow that shoulder that you're moving away from, in this case my left shoulder,
releases to the ground. So when my legs are on the right, I can feel my right arm and right shoulder releasing to the ground. As I take my legs back and over to the left, I can still feel my right arm and right shoulder releasing to the ground. If it starts to come up like this, go back to where you felt it releasing to the ground and stop there, and then try it again. The reason it comes up is there's a lot of tension for people through the chest and the collarbone area and the whole shoulder area. So, and that's soft tissue tension. So that can be released with patience, time, and practice. Moving into the posture and out of the posture mindfully. And then we'll come back to the center and take a few breaths. And then stay lying down. I'll come up to sitting. You can stay lying down for a bit and feel your inhalation breath and your exhalation breath. Feel the breath in the chest once again, where you were focusing at the beginning of the class. I think a lot of anxiety sits in that area of the body because when we're anxious or stressed, our breath becomes rather erratic, shallow, or tensed. And the cause of the anxiety or stress might have passed, but we can still retain that tension in the chest area and other areas as well. So with mindfulness, with being in the present moment, we get an opportunity to notice that kind of tension that we hold in our bodies, possibly in the chest. It might be elsewhere in your body, like the neck or your legs or your lower back. So our yoga practice gives us an opportunity to feel those areas of the body, to feel what they're like without judgment, and to stay with them, to deeply listen to the body, and then feel that our yoga practice can start to release that muscle tension without striving, without forcing, paying attention to how we come into the postures and out of the poses. So Yogi Betty has moved over to the props. We're actually doing a little bit of a renovation to the yoga studio during this time. So we're painting the studio, we're going to redo the floor, and we're redoing the floor in the vestibule. So the bolsters all got piled up into one section, which she has found. So see if I can get the camera onto them just before we end the class, and you can see how Yogi Betty practices her version of relaxation and shavasana. So I'll see if I can find her. You'll see we've moved things around, and there's Yogi Betty in the big pile of bolsters, the covers of which I will now have to wash. So I hope you enjoyed the class today, and I hope you visit us again at Four Directions Yoga Studios online yoga classes. Thank you.